All right. Hello, everybody. This is Thomas, together with Shalini, with Gail, and with Zmago, and we are gonna kick off this team meeting for the new project of in Agile Ventures called it's called Refugee Tech right now, but we're still open to suggestions what to actually call this project. The client is called Unify. The non-profit behind this project is called Unify. And the idea is to build some sort of an application that can help people that are arriving in their new countries here in Europe to integrate in the society by, promoting people to meet basically, and interact with each other somehow. And we believe that technology can kind of facilitate that process, but it's all about people basically. And so there is this nonprofit called Unify. They have an idea for building a platform, and they were shopping around for developers, and they found us to help them develop this platform. And the idea is that we're going to do this as an open source project, a non-profit project. And also in Agile Ventures, we work with something we call open process, which basically means that everything about the development process is open. We are using as many open source technologies as possible, and we are recording our meetings. We are making our project documentation available freely online, and our tools are open for everybody to see, and so people can look at how we did stuff in order to learn, or draw some conclusions out of that, and see if they can enhance their own knowledge in a way. So so this is like our, I think it's our second meeting in this project, and let me share my screen, and we can see if we can go over to the Agile Ventures site. And what do I want to do? I want to go to the projects page for Refugee Tech, and just quickly go over some stuff that we spoke about in the last meeting. See if I can get a connection. Yes, I can. So all right. So there are 3 documents here. I don't know if you guys have read it yet. If you haven't, you can take your time and go over that. But we had an inception meeting last week, and I'm just going to go over some of the stuff that we spoke about at that meeting. And so we started out with just a quick presentation, which I think we should do in this meeting too, because not everybody was around last time. We spoke a little bit about the technology stack. There is a document here describing the client's view on the project, what they would like to have. So there are some requirements here. It's not too long, but we kind of went over that last time, and we started to talk a little bit about some technology related topics, and we kind of identified that we're going to need some sort of a back-end application where we can store data about users, about activities, events, etc. And we need to expose that data to a RESTful API somehow, because there is a requirement from the client that the application should be accessible through a mobile application. So basically, what we're going to do is to develop that back-end app, expose this application through an API, and allow a mobile application to interact with that data somehow. And we were talking about and considering Ionic as a framework to develop the mobile application. Ionic is an Angular JS based framework for hybrid mobile applications. So you develop once and deploy to both Android and iOS, and I think you can deploy to Windows Phone, etc. Although I'm not sure. I have worked with it on a small project. I am not an expert in Ionic in any way, but it's pretty cool. I like it so far from what I've seen. We also discussed a little bit about the platform as a service providers that could become useful for us. So during the development process, we probably going to use Heroku to host our development server and perhaps staging servers to start with. But then before we go to production, which of course is something that is far away in time right now. But if we go to production, we would probably need some sort of a virtual private server on some provider. I don't know if DigitalOcean is a viable option, or Amazon Web Services, but this is something that we're going to need to discuss with the client. For version control, we're going to use Git, which is the de facto standard in the industry right now. There are other version control systems that are not as good as Git, I would say. And for cloud storage of our code, we usually use GitHub, and I think that GitHub is a good it's a good place to store code for this project as well. We could use Bitbucket, but I don't see any reason to do that actually. I think GitHub is sufficient. We can talk a little bit about the structure of the repository later in this meeting. Another big topic for us was the choice of a project management tool, and we discussed, we boiled it down to two options, Pivotal Tracker being one of them, and Waffle.io being the second one. And I strongly propagate Pivotal Tracker. I think it's by far the best tool, but I'm open to suggestions, of course, if the majority of the team would like to use something else, Waffle, or we can look at other options as well. I think we can. I'm open for that, and it would be good if we choose something basically as soon as possible, so we can start working on things. Any questions on that so far?
No. Nope.
All good. Cool. Yep. I see that we have some other people who have joined while I was talking. So hello to Nicholas and hello Tony. How's it going, guys? Can you hear me, first of all? Okay, I don't know if you're talking, Nicholas, but we cannot hear you right now. Yes, I see your lips moving, so you must be talking. Yes, now you're laughing and everything. So you're not muted, so either the sound on your computer is off, or you just have to, rejoin the meeting or something. In the meantime, Tony, how's it going? All right, you're also talking. Do you guys hear Tony?
No.
No.
Okay, so both Tony and Nicholas have audio issues, which is like amazing. No. Sorry about that, but I cannot hear you. I don't know. So check your audio settings, guys. And Nicholas, I would suggest that you rejoin. Basically, that's usually the problem, or but I don't know. Try that. Okay, back to screen share. So what we kind of did. So if you go to this this project page on website 1, you can see that we have links to a GitHub repository, and we also have a link to the Pivotal Tracker here. And if we just click the Pivotal Tracker link, we can see that we kind of started to create some basic features that could be interesting to develop. And what we kind of agreed on last time in the last meeting was that anybody can create something and place it in the Icebox, and then we talk about it either in this meeting or over Slack or something. So we could I see that we have something about navigation, suggested meetups, feedback on user performance, user resume information, etc., etc. Let's pop this open and see if there. So the usual format that we try to follow is this this user story format that has a role in order to achieve some sort of a business value. I want to have a feature, So, and I see here that I think Tony is the one that created this, wrote a nice user story that as a user, in order to be able to navigate through the application, I want to see icons for interest, match, chat, and personal profile. Okay, interesting, and very nice labeling here with navigation and UI. I like that. And there is a discussion. Good. So this is exactly what we want to see at this moment. So this first 2 weeks, it gives us another week, is I usually refer to as a design sprint, where we don't write any code, but we just kind of talk about features like this one. And so there is an ongoing discussion here on Pivotal Tracker, and so this is something that we can continue to do during this week, and also in this meeting perhaps. Another story from Tony is suggested meetups as a user in order to find a suitable meeting place. I would like to see a list of suggested meetup places relevant to the interest and location of of myself and my matches, I guess. So we could stop and talk about this for a second. I know that the physical interaction, person-to-person interaction between people is the best thing to actually get to know folks, right? And I think that these meetups are a good idea. How about we try or at least research possibility to use meetup.com to organize as a platform to organize meetups and kind of pull out information about those meetups through the Meetup API and publish it on the site. Does anybody have any experience from Meetup?
No, I don't.
So
not yet.
No. So I've organized a few.
Not me either.
Oh, okay. So I've organized a few meetups, and it's a very good platform to spread the word about it, and and be there's a lot of members and also in different countries, etc. And I think that they have some sort of an API, so you could pull out some info about it. Let's see, Meetup API. There is a Meetup API. That's good. So you can use that to find groups, etc., etc. Let's see if there's a Ruby wrapper for that. Client, there's a Meetup client. Let's see, Ruby, GitHub, the Meetup Ruby Jam, Jamestown Meetup, cities. All right. All right. That seems interesting. Let's have a look at that. Where's my pivotal tracker? Where's my pivotal tracker? There it is. So let's sign in here. Yes, come on. So is Niklas back? Yes. Can you say something? Yes, you can, but it doesn't. Sorry, brother. Well, how about joining through your cell phone, Niklas? Can you try that? Okay, let's move over to Tony and see if we're in luck there. No, we're not. Man, what's going on? Yeah. Do you have like another device or something? All right, try that. Okay, all right, gotcha. That's the international sign language, works all the time, every time. Yeah. All right, so let's see, suggested meetups, and I would say, how about? So this is the way we have this conversation. So under each story you can add some text, about using meetup.com and the API, something like that. It can be very short, but you can also add, you can add files or documents from Google Drive and reference people and stuff like that. So this is a good thing, I would say. So my idea is that if this organization Unify would organize meetups through meetup.com, then those meetups could be automatically posted to the site. I think that could be a pretty neat functionality, and also that would save us a lot of development time, because then you don't have to store information about the meetups in your database and create models and the entire interface to maintain that, basically. So that could be a good thing, I would say. Let's see. Niklas is back. Did you say something?
Hello.
Who's talking?
Tony.
Tony's talking. Hi, Tony. How's it going?
Hey. Good, thanks.
What's the issue, you think? Was it your?
I was using my MacBook Pro. I've switched to my iPad.
All right. Yes. Okay. That's good. That's usually. So, have you rebooted your MacBook recently?
No, I rarely reboot it.
But yeah, that's the problem. So after a month or month and a half of not rebooting my own computer, I usually get some problems with Hangouts. So
okay, I'll try that.
Unfortunately, Google forces us to do something we don't want, which is reboot our computers.
Yes.
So yeah, that's it. So how's it going, Tony?
Yeah, good. I'm looking forward to being involved in this project. If I can find spare time. At the moment, I'm a bit time poor because I'm doing a couple of Coursera courses and I'm a TA on 169. But I'm quite interested in looking at doing some Ionic stuff.
All right.
And this would be my first Agile Ventures project as well. So.
All right. Well, so as I mentioned, we're in the design sprint right now, so there isn't much coding going on, which is like for many programmers it's the most boring sprint of them all. But it must be done. The discussions must.
Oh yeah. I mean, you have to make decisions at this stage anyway. Yeah. One thing that hasn't been discussed is the technology for the website. I mean, do we need a website as well as a mobile app?
So I would say yes, kind of. It depends a little bit how we structure the application. One way. So if there is a need for like an admin backend, like an administrative interface, then we build that in Rails, and then so that the Rails app would have two purposes. One is the admin backend, and then the API, right? Because we can have that in the same application. But we can also give it a third purpose, which is the front end, the web-based front end, the like browser, desktop computer or laptop, So that's completely doable. And the problem with that approach is that it tends to get a little messy. Because then you have to, you have to create 3 namespaces, 3 different type of application controllers and stuff like that, So, yeah, but on the other hand, the other option is that we create an API only application, and then we kind create another app which is the administrative backend, and then a third app that is the web-based interface, And that's also got a little messy. So so there are no shortcuts here. We will end up with a messy solution anyway.
Absolutely. I mean, in the document from the client, they talk about some things being specific to mobile, and they haven't made decisions yet about the web. So it seems like they want a website for the actual application as well as the mobile app.
Yeah.
But they haven't explicitly stated that. So, I mean, it's tough. The only way you can have one solution that does web and mobile is to create a reactive website, but they're not
responsive.
Great, and you can't access the camera and stuff like that. But Ionic doesn't do websites; they do mobile apps. So you end up with an API project and a website project and a mobile project.
See, I know. I know that a lot of people like the responsive website action, and I think it's cool. I think every website should be responsive anyway, whether you plan to use it a lot on mobile devices or not. just because Google kind of forces you to do that. You know, if your application, if your website isn't responsive, they will kind of, you know, put you down in rankings and stuff like that. But I personally don't like using the mobile browser too much. I can read news and stuff, but I prefer kind of native applications, whether they are like hybrid or whatever. But I think it's better. Niklas, have you spoken to the client about this? Now I can hear you, brother.
Yeah, great. I'm here. You mean about the website stuff?
The website versus mobile, or both, or native or not native?
No, we haven't discussed that, but I agree with you about the mobile or the responsive websites. I think also that that native apps are a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
So, but we can take that discussion with the guys from Unity as well. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we need to kind of like make some decisions. So we could. Let's go around. Who's more interested in Rails? You know, the backend stuff, and who would be more interested in working in Ionic or the mobile stuff, or who would want to do both, basically? If we start with Gail first, what are your main interests?
Well, my main interest is to learn, actually, but then my strong background is in mobile, Android, but then I don't have any specific choice, so whatever you put me, I'll actually learn and actually deliver the work, so that's all. I actually want to learn, so yeah.
Okay, but your overall long-term strategy is that, so if you're kind of, you know, if you've been working with the mobile application development now, do you want to continue to grow in that direction, or would you like to get to know the you know, the back end action, basically?
I like to get to know the back end, because I've been actually into a lot of projects, but then not doing too much of back end. Okay. So I would like to actually grow my knowledge into back end stuff.
Okay, so that would put you down for Rails, but available for the mobile application anyway as well, right?
Yeah, yeah, right. Anytime. But then I would like to just go into Rails and improve my knowledge in Rails.
All right. Shalini, what's your background in terms of coding, and what would interest you the most in a project like this?
Are you asking about my day job in coding? Because actually, yeah, I lead SAP implementations.
Okay.
Right. So whatever. That's like just my day job. What I'm interested in this project would be really in the back end, and as well I can do both. Yeah, that would be a lot of fun. I've not worked. I've not really done much on trying to port an app to the make a mobile app.
Okay.
So that sounds a lot of fun.
Okay, cool. Do you have any JavaScript experience since before?
Bit, yeah.
All right.
Bit,
cool.
yeah.
All right. So Ionic is.
I'm comfortable with it, so that's no problem.
Okay, cool. So Ionic is based on AngularJS with some, you know, heavy extensions to that. So it's pretty. It's not a. You know, for me it wasn't a steep learning curve. So I would say, you know, if one has some JavaScript background, you can always pick that up. You know, so it's pretty cool. All right.
Okay. All right. That sounds like fun.
Cool. So Tony, you mentioned that you don't have too much time on your hand right now, but in terms of ideal world,
I'm finishing up a couple of Angular courses at the moment. In the next few weeks, I should finish them out completely. But in terms of what I'd like to work on, I tend to like doing sort of vertical slices. I'm a .NET developer by trade. I have been doing a lot of web development, JavaScript, jQuery, a small amount of Angular, and I've just done an Ionic course.
Cool.
I'm no good at design, Nicholas, so don't put me down for that.
Nicholas can give you a job. They do a lot of .NET stuff. You know? I don't touch Microsoft things at all.
Well, one day you may see the light.
No, one day you might see the light. You're just about to see the light, but you know, welcome to the wonderful world of non-proprietary software. You know, no, we don't. Oh, okay. Anyways, All right.
I mean, I've done the 169 course, so I have done a bit of Ruby, but it's by no means a strong point. You know, I did it last year, so it's a little bit rusty.
Okay.
But I would be quite happy in working front to back.
Okay.
And I've been doing some .NET web APIs recently, but it is web API work, so that's something we're going to have to do and deal with. You know, is it going to be a public API? Well, I guess it necessarily is for the mobile app to access it, but is it something you would actually choose to expose to other people and advertise it as such? You know, those sort of questions.
The beauty of Rails is that, you know, the JSON response is built out of the box, but then we have those standards with, you know, like JSON API standards, and Rails 5 comes with API you know, libraries pre-installed, and that's going to be awesome. But yeah, but I hear you. So kind of vertical. Your Angular knowledge is fresh. You just kind of you're working on that on a daily basis with those courses and everything. So that's good. All right. Well, that's exactly what we needed in this project. So yeah, let me go over to Zmago, and then we can talk a little bit about pair programming and things like that, because yeah, that's about knowledge sharing. Just remind me if I forget to mention that. Okay, Zmago, your background and what would you be interested in this project?
I already working on some projects here on Agile Ventures.
Yeah, you're involved in the local support project, aren't you?
Yeah, and in Austria, but now it's not so many action.
Okay.
And so I will rather do the backend.
Okay.
Because Rails suits for me better, but I also want to learn this stuff. You know, I have a little experience in JavaScript.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I actually do a couple of courses on Angular, but a few years ago, or 1 year ago, and it's gone, I think. So I want to refresh this. I don't know, maybe a bit of that and a bit of, you know.
That sounds great. You know, and so as on every other project here in Agile Ventures, we try to practice pair programming as much as possible. You know, it's a part of this open it's a part of the open process that I spoke about before. So we meet as we do now. You know, we share a screen and we code together. Basically, one guy is the navigator, and one guy is the driver. Right, the driver writes the code, and the navigator, you know, checks the code, and you know there's an ongoing discussion about stuff. And then after a while, like if it's 15 minutes or half an hour or what have you, you kind of switch places, and we use GitHub to push up code, and then the other guy or girl pulls that down and continues to work, basically. And we recorded these sessions so that people can see how we kind of worked on it. It's a learning experience. So, but having said that, is this pair programming kind of paradigm is good for learning, because, you know, if I am good at, for instance, you know, building an API, then, you know, somebody, 1 or 2 people can join in, or 3 people can join in into that session and work together with me, and by that learn how to do this, you know. So it doesn't really matter if one person is strong and the other one is weak on a technology, then the first person teaches the other one, right? If both of them are weak on one technology, well, then they learn together, right? By Googling stuff, you know, solving problems and then doing things. And if both are strong, then they just kind of, you know, develop a little faster, basically, you know. So in this, the way I want to work is that it doesn't matter if you never programmed Rails or if you've never done anything in Ionic or etc. etc. Just join in a pair programming session. You can always contribute with some ideas. You can contribute with some code, but, you know, generally everybody can contribute, I would say, you know. So, and everybody can learn and grow from that experience. So that's a good thing. I was just thinking. Let's see. Hold on a second. Sorry for interrupting my monologue, but yeah. So I have another So we can stay in this meeting for another 15 minutes, with me at least recording. But I would like us to first of all, I would like somebody to take some notes. Nicholas, could you be that person today?
Sure.
So if you go to the Agile Ventures site on your computer that works,
Yep.
apart from the sound, and basically just create a new document on that project, and let me know if you need any assistance with that, and just take some notes on that, on what we kind of discussed. That doesn't work. Why doesn't this work? Projects. Have you guys seen our 404 page? Oh, it's a big eye. It follows my mouse. Yeah. Oh, anyway. Let's see, where is that? So under the refugee tag, you can just go in.
Yeah. So I'm starting a new document now.
Create new document. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Should I name it in any special way?
Just call it team meeting. Yeah, team meeting and today's day. Basically, I would say. And then you just save it, and then you have to open it again for editing. That should work. And if you want, you can. Oh, you're on your mobile phone, so I wanted to ask you to share your screen, but you cannot do that. And yeah, so if we go back to Pivotal, any I don't know if you guys have been to the site. If you don't, please just jump in there. Any particular story that you would like to discuss at this moment? I know that Tony, you've made some comments on some of the stories, right? Yeah. So let's have a look at let's just walk our way down, because what we would need to do is to perhaps set up, so we can set up in the backlog actually a chore, create repo for back end. So this is not a feature. So features are marked as stars, but we just give this we just add this as a chore, and we could also create repo for create repo for mobile app.
At this stage, are you just thinking literally it's an empty repo with?
Yeah. At this stage, we can just just set that up on GitHub under the Agile Ventures organization. So basically, this is something. This one is actually already started, and we can assign me to that, because I am the one in this group, at least, that has admin rights for the Agile Ventures organization, I guess. So that's how we do that. And I would say that we could start. So we agreed upon Rails for the back end, right? There's no discussion about that.
Have we?
Or or do we want to discuss this? That's why I'm asking.
No.
So I don't want to jump into any things, but
no, I'm only kidding.
Any other stacks that could be possible? No. So okay, so let's say Rails. So Nicholas, you can take that down. So Rails is cool. Any preferences about unit testing? And let me explain what I mean. So the testing frameworks for unit tests. The one we usually use is RSpec. There are other possibilities. We could use Minitest.
No.
No Minitest. Okay.
No mini tests.
All right. All right. So do we have a consensus on RSpec?
Yes.
Okay.
That's quite good because if you use Jasmine on the front end, it's quite similar for testing the JavaScript.
Yes. So that was my next question about the acceptance tests. Before we jump into Jasmine, the way I work personally is that I do a lot of unit tests in RSpec, like on the model level, basically. I don't do much controller specs. And if that doesn't mean anything to you, that's just good. But if you know what I mean with controller specs, then we can have a discussion about that, whether it's necessary to test controllers. Any thoughts on that?
It's quite important to control test because I don't understand. I'm just trying to understand why we should not do it.
Yes, because it's a lot of work, first of all, and out of this like security, so a lot of Rails action is kind of out of the box. All the CRUD actions, create, read, update, and destroy, are handled without us actually having to do much, right? So I don't see any point in testing something that is already tested by the framework, right? But what I would say is if the model that I've kind of leaned toward for the last 2 years or a year and a half is that to test the models and then work with acceptance tests, like the BDD approach, right? The top down. And my argument is that if the acceptance tests are well defined and they work, that kind of means that if they are passing, then the controllers are working as well, and then I see no reason why I should write another set of specs and test the controllers. So yeah, that would be my explanation to that.
Would you say the controllers are very, very light and basically do nothing, and all the logic is in the model, and that's why you're testing the models?
Yes. So there's a lot of business logic in the models, of course, and that's why I would test it. I wouldn't say so. Just because we talk about the thin controller and thick models, it doesn't mean that the controllers don't do anything. The controllers are extremely important because they are like the man in the middle, telling, they get a request from the dispatcher and they just grab the information and talk to the views and do this and that, and then they render a response, right? So they are very important. Yeah. But what I mean is that if you test it from the high level of the user interaction and you actually get the response that you're looking for, then you implicitly test the controller anyway, because if the controller doesn't do his job, then the acceptance test wouldn't pass.
Yeah. So
that makes sense. Yeah.
Sorry. I'll shut up for a minute.
I'm sorry. I think that makes sense. I was just responding to Tom's.
And in this way, so the acceptance testing is kind of cool, because then you kind of get to sit down and kind of imagine how would the user interact with the application, and you write that down and you test it basically. So it's a full integration test basically, throughout the entire stack. So I like that a lot, and that brings me to another question. So you can do acceptance tests with RSpec, of course, but there are also another tool that called Cucumber that is a very nice testing framework for acceptance tests. Any thoughts on that, guys?
Yeah. Cucumber is great. Cucumber with Capybara should be fantastic. Yeah.
All right.
I also prefer Cucumber.
Okay.
Because you write like a user story.
Yeah, it is. It's very similar. Yeah. So I think that Cucumber kind of supports the entire process of agile development. That where you define user stories, you work with lo-fis, you see the the view and the way that the user should interact. And you kind of describe that in pure English, basically. You know, given I do this and that and that and that, then I should, you know, see this and or some other stuff, right? And so that's one thing. And the other thing is that the step definitions that you design for you know, for those actual steps, right? They can be reused in other scenarios, which makes it you know, very dry. I like it, rather than, you know, in our spec you can do similar stuff, but it's not as straightforward, and they are not as readable as the Cucumber scenarios, I would say. So I think we have 3 votes for Cucumber. Are there any opposition to Cucumber for acceptance tests?
Sorry, we're talking about acceptance tests literally end-to-end from the Ionic front end, or are you talking about acceptance tests of the API? Because
well,
they are
good.
different. The API lives on its own.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's another question. Absolutely. So this kind of when I spoke about this, I kind of jumped through one step, because I kind of assume that we will have some sort of an admin interface or a web interface built in some sort of rack as a rack application, like whether it's Sinatra or Rails, you know. But so that would be for the Ruby part. For the, not for the Ruby, but yeah, for the web-based interface. And then the Ionic one would be of course written in either Jasmine, or I think we can use Protractor or something else. And that is more Rails. That is more RSpec like.
Yeah,
basically.
but there is also value in testing the API part of the Rails app on its own. You know, you make a call from some client, and you get the expected JSON back.
Yes.
And I would think they should also be acceptance test style, rather than unit test style.
Yes. Well, so you know, a lot of the acceptance tests that we use the way we write acceptance tests, independently if we are using RSpec or Cucumber, it means that we use Capybara, right? For the interaction. And Capybara is not built to test APIs. So we need to do it slightly different, basically. And RSpec is the best tool to test APIs, I would say. That's the way at least I've tested APIs before. Let's see. Let me just show you an example. Agile Ventures, and then we go to what? To take me. Oh, I don't. Let's see what we got here. Take me
in the .NET world where I'm doing web API stuff, we use SpecFlow, which lets you write Gherkin syntax feature files, and you test the API as you could any other website, and it works quite nicely. That's a .NET specific tool.
Yeah.
But it is really nice being able to.
And you can write
feature
Gherkin
files.
in that? Oh, that's cool. That's cool. I don't think. Well, I would like to research if there's something similar for Rails, basically.
Yeah.
But
just to say, the sort of tests we would write is, you know, as a consumer of the API, when I make a call with this client code, I get back a 200 response.
Yeah.
I get back a JSON document, and it has my client details or something like that.
Yeah, I see that. I can definitely see that working in Cucumber as it is. You know, I just haven't thought of it. But you know what? I would say let's explore that. I think it's great. Can we use Cucumber and Gherkin to write those those tests? I'd love to do it. I'm just going to show you how we did it in another project of Agile Ventures that is called Take Me Away. That's a restaurant ordering system that we kind of built. And so for some reason we have like controller specs, but it shouldn't do much, but it does for some reason. Let's see why. I haven't seen this one actually, so forget about this. I don't know what it does. But here we have the API specs for this application. Let's start with a user spec, and this is this is kind of a, you know, controller like spec, but for the API, right? So we do a post request to this route, and we pass in this this hash or those params, this JSON kind of, you know, and then we have some assertions that we expect the response status to look, you know, to be at 200, and then the JSON response that we are getting supposed to equal something that we're passing in, right? So this is the way we've tested this API that we built. Yeah, but I would prefer to do it in Cucumber, to be honest, because this isn't readable. You know, you can't show
absolutely.
this to the client and tell him that, look, this is passing, yippee, you know. So, but okay, so we need to can you research that a little bit, you know?
Yeah, sure.
So, you know, set up. So I'm just gonna change this now so we're gonna use RSpec for unit tests, and let's create another, because that's a feature actually, you know, to set that up, and you know, so set up Cucumber for API. Yes, right.
Yeah.
And then I'm gonna. Are you a member of the? You're a member of
I
it.
should be. Yeah. There
you are. Yeah. So you can do a research on that basically.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, and so now when we have these two little stories here, I would like us to do another thing. You see that there is so here we have those points, 1 point, 2 points, and 3 points, right? And that's that's how many points we assign to each story, and there is a big debate whether this should be according to complexity or effort that people should put into this to completing this feature. And it would be good if we could get into the habit of kind of voting on that. We have a process of doing this. Basically, what you should think about when you kind of assign points is that, is it very complex, and will it take, like, so if Thomas is the owner of the story, and is it complex, how long time will it take for Thomas to do this, you know? And then you could say, oh, I think Thomas could do this in a day or an hour, or, you know, a week or something. And then you kind of say that, so if it's a really complex story, and it will take time, then you assign 3 to it, 2 if it's a medium complexity, and 1 if it's a fairly straightforward story or a feature that needs to be developed, right? So, and this is like on a kind of individual basis, but also in the group, on a group basis, right? So it, you know, one story that could be complex in this project doesn't necessarily have to be complex in another one. So we don't have to compare between different projects. But would rather see this in isolation for what we're doing here in this context. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Kind of. No.
How do you
Yes.
Doesn't make sense to me, you know. No, but it does. But so we have to set this. We have to give these stories points, 1, 2, or 3, basically. You know, depending on.
Don't the points also depend on the individual? So if there was a story to create the Rails API and you're doing it, that might be 1 point because you can do it in your sleep. Whereas for me, it's 10 points.
Yeah.
Because it's not .NET.
Yes.
So
yes,
I mean,
it does. Although it does. So that's part of the assessment, but we have to also take into account that we will pair program on this. So even if it's, you know, if you take ownership of a story like setting up API, and you're a fairly novice on Rails, it could still mean that, you know, just, you know, you take ownership, but you will pair program with me. You know what I mean?
Sure,
or you have to your disposal the knowledge that, you know, of this team, basically. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So partially yes, it should be on an individual level, but taking into account that there are, you know, we are you know, in the team we have many competences and we can use them. You know what I mean? Yeah. Okay. So the way we usually vote is like that we open our chat window in Google Hangout.
I don't seem to have one on the iPad.
Not me either.
Wow, I was thrown out from my own meeting. That's cool. So yeah, so basically the last thing I was saying is about the voting. So if you guys open your own chat windows, it's like it's a blue little icon on the. You don't have a chat. You guys on the mobile devices don't have chats,
No.
I think. So, but the ones that are sitting on their computers, and you guys can do this verbally after we've done it. So we have to assign those points independently of each other. So what I would like you to do is that in the chat window, write down 1, 2, or 3, depending of if this is a complex or medium or a easy story. You know.
Sorry, could we do it in the Slack channel?
We can do it in the
All
Slack
the-
channel. Let's do it in the Slack. Absolutely. Much better idea. So I think you guys can access Slack as well,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So on the count of, when I say now, that's when you kind of press enter, all right? Is that cool?
Which story are we voting on?
On setting up RSpec testing framework for the unit tests.
Or
All right.
Not the cucumber one.
Not Cucumber yet. We
Okay,
will
yeah.
vote on it the next one. All right.
Yeah.
So this is the first story. Has everybody typed in their numbers?
Yes.
And we press enter now. Yes. Well, okay, Gail, you can only go up to 3.
Yes. I haven't done any unit testing.
No
so.
problems. This is your first time. No problemos. So we
I
have
voted on the basis of someone else doing it.
All right. So usually what we do is that if somebody deviates, if everybody gives it a 1 like we did, and Gail, for instance, gave it 8, he needs to kind of explain why he thinks it's complex. So Gail, do you want to explain why you gave it such a high number?
Yeah, because actually I've never done any unit testing, so I only learned AngularJS like this without doing any unit testing. So
I gotcha. No problems. So let's stick with 1. All right. For this one, if it's okay with everybody else. So pivotal. And we can vote on the second story, which is doing research for the Gherkin and for the Cucumber testing of APIs. So I'm just going to assign 1 point to this one. And is there any questions about that? No. Let's vote. So has everybody typed in?
Yes.
Enter now. Cool. So Tony, you deviated from the public, saying 1 on this one.
Well, it's an investigation task, and it's not hard to Google.
It is not, but the ability to read doesn't necessarily means that you can understand what it's written. But
Sure. Yeah.
So yeah, well, you're the boss of this story.
No, let's go with 2 then. That's fine.
Oh, yeah. I was leaning toward a 1, but I thought I'll be nice to you,
Okay. I'll go with 2 then.
Let's go with 2 on this one. So now, whenever you feel like you want to start this story, you can just click start. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so this is the way we kind of do this, and we will do this sort of assessment and voting on every feature that we have in the icebox and in the backlog. So guys, so here's the deal. I forgot my charger at the office, and I am down to 9 minutes of battery time on my laptop. So, and also my wife wants me downstairs. Yeah. So what I would like us to do is like visit the Pivotal Tracker as we did over the last week, and read that document from Unify and try to kind of envision this application and write down as much as possible and place it, as many feature ideas as possible, and place it in the in the Icebox, but also comment on the ones that are already there. If you have any ideas or any, any input on them, and so let's keep the conversation going on those features, but also in Slack if we want to discuss something. Okay.
All right.
Sure.
Sounds good.
Yeah, and so it's Thursday now. I would suggest that we meet again on I don't know, Monday afternoon or Tuesday afternoon. Nicholas, how does your planning look like?
Tuesday could be fine.
All right. So is this a good time for you guys?
It is for me. I can't do it during the day because of my job.
All right.
And I probably can't do before 6:30 any evening, basically.
Okay. And Shalini, what time is it at your? I mean, you're a few hours ahead of us, aren't you?
Yes, quite a few. It's about 2 a.m.
Oh.
But that's fine. I usually stay up late on work, so it's fine.
All right.
This works for me. I mean, I don't want to hassle anyone else.
No, okay. And Gail, is this a good time for you?
Yeah, that's perfect for me.
All right. And Mago, are you okay with this? Cool.
If you are, no problem.
Yeah. So I usually put my kid to bed at 8 o'clock, so I can.
Yeah. My goes at 11, so.
All right.
Nice.
Cool. All right, guys.
Okay.
So let's end this now, and let's keep. So I'm gonna turn off the recording. But if you guys want to stick around and talk to each other, and if you have anything that you want to discuss or pair program on or whatever, feel free to do it now. And I'll be around on Slack, okay? Because my mobile phone still has batteries, but my laptop doesn't. So, but I have Slack on my mobile. So, all right. Thank you very much for this meeting. Unless there's any other questions, live long and prosper. Take it easy. Star Trek is the best, and Star Wars sucks. Okay. So long. Bye.
Bye.